Next up is Hector and Dieter. We're going to talk about the birth of HPC in Cuba.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Hector, and I'm happy to be here to tell you what we are doing for making HPC service available for Cuban scientists. The laws you can see are institutions that are supporting our projects. The BLIR US, that is the Flemish University Council. Also, BLIR.cu is a collaboration project with Flemish University and 6 Cuban universities, where 3 of them are very involved in this project that we call HPC Cuba. As we want to make HPC service available for all Cuban scientists, so our mission is to provide centralized access to HPC infrastructure, also to offer training to our HPC staff, and also to support our users belonging to the higher education system, and also to our research institutions in Cuba. The HPC Cuba project, that we can also call Cuba Center for Academic Supercomputing, it was sought with a geographic distribution of the HPC infrastructure in 3 main points in Havana, Santa Clara, and Santiago de Cuba. In 3 universities: the University of Informatic Science in Havana, the Central University of Las Villas in Santa Clara, and University of Oriente in Santiago de Cuba. Some facts about Cuba. So Cuba is the biggest island at the Caribbean, also with a tropical climate. It's a tourist destination. Also, our high education standard is true. So we are friendly people. So Cuba is also a safest place in America. But we are still living under the USA embargo, so it causes us some limitation, like the bandwidth, or also restricted access to the information on internet, because some sites are blocking our Cuban IPs. So also the access to the infrastructure become problematic sometimes.
An important remark, it's the Americans blocking their sites for Cuban access. It's not the Cuban government blocking the access for the Cuban population. It's the other way around. Many people think it's the other way around. Okay?
Thank you for the clarification that this is Cuba. We are very close to USA, Florida, so you can find us the map. This project idea started in 2015 when we start 2 small HPC clusters. One in Santa Clara, UCRB, and the other one in Oriente University in the eastern part of the country. But our goal is to provide the access to the whole country. Now installing a new one in Havana in the University of Informatic Science. Maybe you have heard about the Linux Nova distribution that was developed there. But also in Cuba, you can take a walk, riding nice old cars, and enjoy the Malecon during the evening. So in Santa Clara, you can find the Central University of Las Villas with a very nice university campus in a very natural environment with a lot of trees. Also, you can find beautiful beaches in the north coast of the province, so in Cayo Santa Maria, where we have held many workshops regarding ICT. In Oriente, it's also a nice place with a very friendly people, where Belgians become Cubans so immediately. So it's difficult to recognize to Dieter, but maybe because he is taller than Cubans. So, highlighted in red, the HPC cluster in University of Oriente, also in University of Las Villas, What we are doing right now, so our plan now, immediately for 2017, is to insert two IBM clusters with a capacity of about 600 cores and 1 terabyte of RAM in Havana and Santa Clara. Also in Santa Clara, a big data cluster with 20 servers and two NVIDIA GPU cards. And in Oriente University, a Dell server with similar, a Dell cluster, sorry, with similar capacity, but using InfiniBand technology for the interconnectivity. So that is what we are talking about. One of these in Oriente was already started, where either you and other specialists are working hard to make this possible. So it is our goal for this year.
So maybe we can remark here that the hardware is donated by Ghent University. Yes? It's impossible for Cuban universities to buy IBM or Dell or HP hardware. It's illegal for Dell to export to Cuba. Yes? If a Dell salesperson sells to a Cuban university, he loses his job. Okay? But thanks to collaboration with the Flemish universities, we've been able to establish some infrastructure in Cuba.
So everything we are using is free software. So far, we have Debian as operating system that using Toolkit, PBS, and Maui for managing queues and jobs. Also Zinc and Ganglia for monitoring purposes. But we are exploring a new alternative for the new implementation, maybe using CentOS and Slurm, and maybe other things. So that is what we are thinking about. We are exploring to do that. We have offered web portals to support users. So this is another example in University of Oriente. Also a wiki, I'm sorry for the language, it's called for Cuban users. And also building different ways to access to the cluster of for monitoring purposes. For example, you can access using SSH for look the QoS state. You can do that. And also using the web interface. The same for the job states. It's more comfortable for non-IT user to use the web access. And also we are creating some templates for script to submitting jobs. And in the web via web also is possible. So now we can see how many institutions in Cuba are using our HPC facilities, and also you can find a user from BUV. So I have no idea what he's doing in our cluster, but okay, he's here. Also, people from Brazilian University, because you are helping us and we are helping Brazilian guys. So we are happy with that. With the users, we are. That is a lot of Cuban universities in different provinces. So.
Yes, maybe allow me to remark, there are a lot of universities in Cuba. There's a lot of very small universities. Almost every little town has its own university. So we have infrastructure in the three main universities of the island. And as you can see, the infrastructure is working well already on a high level, using nothing but free and open source solutions. And all kinds of institutions and research institutes are using already our infrastructure. And that's what this graph shows.
Okay, so some examples of different resorts in Cuba using our HPC, for example, for video encoding in the Cuban digital television broadcasting, for example, and also for signal processing using neural networks for health applications, also from the environment, and also for the chemistry application where they couldn't do the job with the very good laptop with 16 GB RAM. It was not possible, but in our cluster-oriented university, in 15 minutes it was solved. So other scientific papers. So it's just to have an idea that our scientists in Cuba are using what we are doing. So now we have a national strategy that includes capacity building. So it will be important for us to train our HPC staff, developing training or workshops. It could be in Cuba or in Belgium. Also supporting the users and establishment of synergies with other institutions. So this is our national strategy. It was our first workshop in Santa Clara with the participation of HPC expert from Ghent University. It was sponsored by Blear. So we can see
Alvaro, you can see him here.
So Alvaro is here.
Everybody's experience of working with Cuban.
So Alvaro could be a very good reference of Cuba and our job. Also, Rudy is here and Dieter, okay, of course. But also some people from Ecuador and Peru were trained because it had regional impacts also. And of course, for our national strategy, we have to face some drawbacks. For example, the bandwidth, also the access policy, because sometimes the SSH ports are blocked when you go from another institution to another. So we have to face that. Also some blackouts that we have, and of course the USA trade embargo is still present, and nobody knows what will Trump do in the future regarding Cuba. So we have to see. But now we are focused and to develop a centralized authentication system with a national front end. Also to improve our grades, our storage capacity, train our people, and make easier the user's installation by using some facilities that we will show now. This is our user management approach with national front end, with centralized authentication with redundancy, also the login nodes are connected to the head of the cluster, and also access to Scratch user InfiniBand and to the home of the user or the data user network file system. So this is
So actually the infrastructure is working at the separate universities, and what we're working on now is like a layer on top of that to have national user accounts. So if you have a user account for HPC Cuba at your home university, you can access the infrastructure at another university.
Also for making easier the installation for users, we are planning to use EasyWord, where we can say that we already have a Cuban contribution to the EasyWord community developing the Jade, for example. I know that Kenneth has been our guide and also a supervisor of our developers. So we are also working helping something with the clip open forum. So maybe Kenneth can explain much more. Okay, so it's a sample of the Jade installation developed for our staff in Cuba. So, guys, we need HPC expert like you to join us in this trip to make it possible. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Hector and Dieter. Questions?
You said you've got an Howland processor. How many cores per socket? And the Howland, how many? 6?
think then in the questions repeat the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the hardware we're using
Yeah.
is
Okay.
I was going to say you shouldn't look at that as a lesser generation. Those processes are very efficient for HPC code.
Yeah.
Today, when people are procuring systems, we're getting 10, 12 core processors from Intel pushed onto us, and they really aren't all that efficient.
Yeah.
You get memory bandwidth problems, and you know, I mean, you should do some work on how efficient those processes are, maybe versus one with more broadband generation.
Well, you see, actually, we're just we're using the hardware that we can get our hands on. Yes, we don't really have the liberty to choose the hardware. We're just happy to receive. These were good clusters working very well at Ghent University. They were decommissioned for all kinds of reasons, and instead of throwing them into the furnace, we decided to export them to Cuba and donate them to Cuban University. If you have another cluster available for us, please help us.
Yeah.
So just wondering, where can we find more information about the ongoing projects and that you're asking for HPC experts to get involved?
Yes.
What are the opportunities available? Like, where can we find more information?
Please send us an email, so we have your email, and then we can see.
Back.
Yes, in the future, we are always organizing trainings. Cubans are coming to Belgium. See, Hector is here right now. We are sending experts to Cuba every time we have funds. We get funding from the Flemish Inter-University Council, and the deal is basically that it's volunteer work, but you get your ticket paid, your hotel there is paid, you get a per diem, and what we see is people go there and then they stay for an extra week, extra 2 weeks to go on holiday, and
So-
it's just fine.
Yeah, we are right now applying for the code, so we can promise anything, but maybe for the next year we can have some budgets supporting our projects. So we will need some Europe experts to support us, to teaching our staff, so our staff can come here and our trainers can go to Cuba also.
So the question is about the electricity. Do we use UPS or do we generate our own electricity? Well, the experience is that the electricity in Cuba is unstable. It's very normal to have small outages. We use UPS mostly to stabilize the mains current, and we have generators also.
Yeah.
But outages are quite common.
So we use UPS, also some inverters with batteries. It's not exactly UPS, and of course also generators.
Please. Yes.
It seems like for you it's kind of a issue to get your hands on hardware because mostly everything is controlled by the US and the embargo. Did you look into open hardware solutions for now? There are some Asian integrators, for instance, that are integrating ARM processors, so that's a field that is a bit less controlled by the US, and actually for something that you see as a possibility, or also economically it might be also difficult to get funding for acquiring new hardware.
Yes. So the question is maybe we should focus on open hardware or open DC infrastructure instead of looking for US hardware providers. Yeah, maybe we can look into it, but for right now, I think financially it would be very difficult for us to start building or to start looking in that direction. From up until now, we've depended on free hardware. Yeah, so free is always cheaper than maybe open can be. Yeah? Yes?
The HPC will be used only for scientific research or also for public services in the future?
Okay, it could be used for anybody. So we are focused mainly now in this first step in scientific community, because are the people that have more needs about HPC. But for one of the examples that I showed regarding to the video encoding for the national Cuban digital television broadcasting. It's not for scientific purposes. It's just for storage the materials in the format that they need. Also for the broadcasting to the Cuban people.
Any more questions?
Okay.
If not,
Thank
thanks
you.
again to everyone.